why is it important to you that you are a woman in this space? Like, what does that mean to you? Go ahead, please.
You go. Sure. Important to me, I guess, because I am one. So it's like it's something you gotta engage with, whether you want to or not. I imagine just like being kind of any kind of like cultural minority, you kind of have to wrestle with that in the public space, especially in the debate space.
Why do you think so few women engage in this space? Why?
It's really nasty. It's a pretty mean space, especially now that I've interacted with like content creators from a whole bunch of other like podcasters and historian YouTubers and stuff. And they're like shocked at the level of harassment that like myself or other political streamers that I know get. And we're like an eighth of the size, right? Like you talk to somebody who does history and has 2 million subs, they've got like 1 to 2 stalkers that started recently and they've never been doxxed. And they're like shocked when they like listen to like IRI be like, yeah, I've like had all of these problems. And they're like, what? So it's a really like nasty space. I think for a lot of women, that type of threat is a bit of a different experience. I think it's threatening for anyone, but as a woman, obviously, being threatened with having people do deep fakes of you, having people like release your address and stuff with it, that I think is unique to being a woman, just because of the kind of lived experience of at any time, if a man wants to, he could probably kill me. So I think threat is probably experienced differently for women in this space.
What do the rest of you think on this?
I think this can be attributed from also, we don't have to talk about politics streaming. We could talk about politics in general, and then how it's mostly dominated by men. So I think already you're at a disadvantage if you go into political streaming, because you already have such a discrepancy in actual jobs, right? So like people will automatically trust men more than women in the sense that they see more men in the industry. So they're saying, well, what do you know about politics, for example? So I think a lot of the prejudice that comes from that. And then to her point, everything, there is more threat, especially if it's liberals versus conservators, it gets very, very nasty.
Do you feel
conservatives?
On that note, right? Like on the issue of being taken seriously, do you feel that you aren't as taken as seriously as say someone would take a Vosh or a Destiny or anything like that? Do you feel like people in this space take women less seriously overall, or is it just certain types of women? Is it just this space, or do you think that applies to content creation as a whole? What do we think?
It's really hard to compare. Like, it's hard to compare somebody like of my size to somebody like Vosh's size, right? Like, do people take me less seriously than Vosh? Yeah, but I have like less than a quarter of his subscribers, and in many ways subscribers give some level of legitimacy. We can argue whether that's valid or not, but I would think most people heuristically kind of view it that way. So it's probably better to compare me to somebody of equal size who's a man in the first place, just because I'm not being...
Who would be that like in this space? Who do you think is equal? Like, who are your peers, if you will, do you think?
I have no idea. I'd have to think about it. I'm not sure. I haven't really like kept track of people's sub numbers in the last year.
If we're going to like compare like to like, right? Because again, it wouldn't make sense to compare like someone with like 20,000 subs to someone with 2 million subs.
But I don't think subs should be the only factor of even them trusting her. Like, yes, I know it contributes to that, but like if her background is completely in politics and she's been involved in politics for 10 plus years, but she has way lower count of subscribers or followers, etc., I don't think that should be like the only factor of why people trust them over her, you know?
I mean, I agree.
You would agree, but that just is not what happened.
Right. Sure. And I think when we're talking about trust or taking people seriously, it's also like how people talk about these individuals, not just like their size. Because obviously people are going to be like trusted more or watched more when they're a lot bigger. But the way, like the words that people use to describe these people or the type of insults used against them or this, that, and the other are generally going to be different, like, you know, for women online.
How so? Can you give us an example?
They seem to be like more targeted. I feel like for like a dude getting called like stupid. It's more like he's stupid because he's stupid as an individual. But then in some instances and from some people, it becomes women are stupid if it's like a chick. Also, I'm sorry for being so late. I was trying to figure out how to get
your background says so.
Yeah, you look, seriously, if you're in the hospital and you don't and you need to take care of health issues, just do that, right? I can get someone.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just bored because they did all the tests and stuff, and now I'm just sitting here until I could see a neurologist tomorrow morning. So
Fair enough. On that note though, do you feel like women are considered a representative of women in general in a way that men are not in this space?
What do you mean by that?
As Kadusha just said, people will call me stupid, right? But they're like, no one is out there saying, "Oh God, look at Wick. All men are dumb." But they will do that with women. They'll be like, "Oh, that Kirby."
No, they'll do that.
A woman.
No. I've seen a dumb man. I'm like, men are such idiots. Like we do that with everything. I'd say even humans are idiots. Like I don't think that's gender specific at all.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the numbers of people in this space, but I do see them do it more with my women guests than I do with my men guests.
What differences do you see? I'd be curious to know.
So, sure. When I have women guests on, so first of all my guests get insults. That just happens, right? When someone doesn't like what they're saying, they will be insulted. But the way they get insulted is different, right? When I have a man guest on and the people don't like him, they'll say, "What a retard," things like that. That happens also with the women, but they'll also say things like, "That's just like a woman to be that retarded," or "What's her OnlyFans?" or trying to just really push in the sexual angle in a way that they simply don't with men.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you compare these two things, like obviously genderized insults are going to go, like, for example, I never get called a cuck, right? But like men will. I never get called like a pussy or like something like implying like weakness, like male weakness, right? So there's always going to be gendered insults. I think I could be wrong. I'm curious what people think about this. The main thing that I've noticed to kind of distill the differences in how men and women experience these things is in a political space, I think, assuming you're at least a decently well put together dude, like you're clean, you don't look super fucked up, you've got a decent mic quality. Most people will treat you with like neutral benefit of the doubt. You kind of have to earn your space, but you're not starting at a disadvantage. I think for a lot of women, they start at like this weird some people are way more likely to listen to them and kind of like be simpy for them, but simping for them isn't the same thing as respecting them and listening to what they have to say. And then other people are going to resent that other people simp for them. And you get like a lot more vitriolic hatred, right? Like a lot of the hatred that I see for Anna Kasparian versus Cenk is pretty unhinged. Like both people have done a number of social ills. Both people are very famous. But the way that people like obsessively kind of hate on Anna Kasparian is pretty unique to this space. I think women often will capture, they're more likely to kind of capture like the most crazy types of haters. It seems to be the case. I think I know a lot more women with stalkers than men. I know a lot more women that are, have had like much more serious safety threats than men of equivalent sizes. So
do you think, and this might come across as rude, and I don't mean it to, right? But it's a serious question I have. Is it because they're women, or do women tend to engage with these types of things in a way that opens them up more to this? Does that make sense, right?
No.
Is it something that they're doing that men maybe would normally not do, or men are doing something that women normally wouldn't, that
sometimes I think it's
brings
both.
this on?
I think it's both.
I disagree with that because I have many friends who stream as well, and then they'll have private conversations with every single viewer, right? But then women have to eventually realize they have to cut off the connection and message viewers because there's so many people who are trying to stalk you. Like there's so many people who are trying to actively meet up with you versus men viewers that a lot of times it's just friendly conversation or like playing games versus the female viewers or the female streamers who will get a completely different experience.
Is that
Yeah,
something
like
that, go ahead.
what I've heard more, I mean, not as much as anything I've personally experienced, but from when, like, hearing things that other people have said about what's happened to them, it seems like there's more of like a sense of entitlement to women that like some of these dudes have in a way that they don't feel as like entitled to men. Like they might feel parasocial with male streamers, but they don't feel as like entitled to that connection. As to
Entitled
like
to
stalk
that
somebody.
connection. Is that something the rest of you have observed, that men feel entitled to?
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if they donate you a lot of times.
Yeah, if they donate you money, they expect you to like have like a fake like relationship with them, or like some dudes even expect like you to send them photos and shit just because they donated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably, there's probably multiple things going on with women in this space that make a woman's experience unique. I think the way that we socialize women does not cater well to a high political space, right? The way that we typically socialize women as they grow up is to be like soft and quiet and gentle and not too disagreeable. And that's been shifting in like the last 10 years. But a lot of the shift, I think, has been a little bit hollow. There's a lot of like, don't be polite mantras that are given to women. But I think being assertive is way more complicated than just not being polite, right? And so what you'll often see is some women in this space get kind of like steamrolled because they don't want to speak up, they don't want to interrupt too much, they don't want to get super loud and big. And anger is very much not viewed as a feminine expression, right? So they're going to get a very...
It's viewed as women being emotional, though. That's how...
It is.
If a woman gets angry, for example, it's just like they're being emotional.
The issue is she is being emotional. It's just that when men get angry, they're not viewed necessarily as being emotional, right?
Sure.
And so I think there's this societal expectation of like the boxes that women should check. And then there's also the way that women have been raised that I think put them at disadvantages in certain like hyper masculine spaces like politics and debate often is. We don't really encourage women to be disagreeable. By and large, we pretty actively discourage it, I would say. To be in this space and be successful as a debater, you have to be pretty fucking disagreeable. You have to like be quite disagreeable, actually. And you also have to like take your licks really, really well. Like the way that women tend to like socialize with each other is if we're going to be aggressive to each other, we're more often going to be like passive aggressive and like undercutting. Whereas in the debate space, people are going to be a lot more like aggressive and like calling you names to your face, right? And so there's just a lot of these, they're neutral. Passive aggression isn't better or worse. Aggression isn't better or worse. They're just different. And so I think women start at a disadvantage, but then also the expectations that we have for women are really different, right? When a woman comes on and they think that she's really sweet and nice, and then she gets really disagreeable, a lot of people have very, very big feelings about that in the way that they don't about men, for example, because we expect men to be disagreeable.
Expectations. Do you guys feel pressured ever to kind of commit to the stereotype? What I mean by that is like I know for me, use me as an example. I feel no pressure to look any sort of way when I go on stream. I get up, I brush my teeth, I tussle my hair, and that's it. I throw on my hoodie and I'm good to stream, right? Is that how you guys feel, or is it a process more involved? Like, do you guys feel pressured to perform the role of a woman in this space? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
I'd say the only expectation, though, is to look good is the expectations of women. I wouldn't just categorize it just by looks or like doing makeup, for example.
How would you categorize it?
Well, I would say how you act too. So like if I would compare myself to like other female streamers that I see getting all these giant donations, they're very like in a way, kind of to Kyla's point, was like less argumentative. For example, they'll be like, "Oh, thank you so much," and like very, very sweet through and through. Like you'll never see them like start yelling at one of their chatters or something. I've noticed that about, and again, I've seen
plenty of women. Well, some women on this panel yell at their chatters. Okay?
I yell at my chat all the time. That's what I'm saying. This is the difference between someone like me. I'm very, very argumentative. I've never claimed otherwise. Okay. Yeah. But if I look at the success, or maybe not even success, but like the lower viewed streamers who get ginormous donations, you see them, yes, probably fulfilling more of a gender role than like other people. But I don't think it is the only thing that factors into success. Like I think it's mostly luck.
I don't think No, go ahead, please.
I feel like there's de Beauvoir talks about this a lot, about the pressure and expectation of performing femininity, and that even in cultures, for example, where modesty and like a woman not being sexual is like one of the most important things. So you look at like very fundamentalist religious spaces, especially Christian, there's actually still an expectation for them to present feminine, right? Like nobody wants in a fundamental church for the pastor's wife to kind of look like a bullish lesbian who's wearing like baggy clothes and stuff. That would not be okay, even though arguably it's less sexual than a skirt and like a blouse that fits really nicely. So is there pressure to perform and look good on the stream? I would say yes. Is there more on stream? To some degree, in the way that everything is hyper focused on a stream. People are going to analyze the way you look, the way that you talk. Like you look to the left for too long and people wonder if somebody's over there. Like people are going to hyper analyze everything, and looks is obviously a really big part of it. I think there are some spaces on the internet that are better at managing how people talk about women's looks. And then there are some spaces that are not so great, but attacking looks is obviously like a super easy, low-hanging fruit for everyone, but especially for women. And so like, is there a pressure to perform to look good? Like, yeah, of course. It's just, is it more than society? Slightly, but it's like, if I leave my house, there's still a pressure to perform and look good. Like, I don't want to go out and like look like a schleb. I don't go out to dinner and not dress up.
You couldn't even make that claim for men as well. Like you can't show up for to an office, for example, in like sweats and a t-shirt. Like you do have to generally put on like dress pants and like a button-down shirt for certain jobs. I guess not all jobs. I know a lot of jobs are changing, but like I work now in DC, and like everyone at work doesn't dress like that.
Certainly. The reason I asked this question, though, is because one of the things that I've seen, and one of the reasons that I've heard from women in real life and in other venues, right? And I asked them, like, why won't you come on my show? Why won't you get in this space? If you're not in this space, why haven't you gotten in here? And one of the things I hear is that they feel intimidated because they feel like if they can't look like you guys, right, that they won't be taken seriously and no one will watch them. So I wonder if this performing of femininity, this performing of looking good on stream, is in a way that it isn't for men, gatekeeping women out of this space. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah, I think it might be like internal policing and like insecurity that way that's kind of baked in. Because I feel like a lot of this is like, you know, kind of, I don't want to say in people's heads, but like if they were to not like, you know, like go on and not wear makeup, they might think that they wouldn't be taken seriously, or people are going to be like, you look bad or whatever. But odds of that actually happening, not the highest, especially in some place like your stream. But obviously, like, because, you know, people want to feel dressed, people want to feel put together. It's a bit of self-policing, I think, for some people.
When have you guys self-policed on this? Can you give us some examples? Are you comfortable talking about like an experience you've had where you wouldn't have behaved in a certain way, but you felt pressured to do so, and so you kind of just did it? Is there any experience you can think of?
Not at all.
None? Not a single time.
It's like I've gotten drunk on stream and been an absolute fool. Once you hit that, there's nothing more embarrassing than that. Once you hit that threshold, everything's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? There's a certain expectation to look good, and looking good benefits you, right? This is like what I love talking to Ayla about, is people are like, well, why do you like get cosmetic surgery? Like, why do you try to look good? And it's like, because hot people get treated well. Like, it just gives you benefits. And why would I not like min-max my like potential for success over something that's like pretty decently simple to do, right? I think that's decently true for men. It's just that the bar for women is higher. But I think one of the most common things you'll hear like Hollywood actresses talk about and bemoan is aging, right? A lot of women are terrified of it because they're concerned that one of the main things that they have to access power and access success is dwindling year by year. And so it's hard to think, is there a time where I felt pressured to act in a way where I like did when I didn't want to. I don't know, like I guess like every time I wear like business casual clothes, I probably would prefer not to, but I like the aesthetic, you know, like I wear business casual on bridges more often than I do normally, but I like bridges being taken more as like a businessy serious thing. So like the trade-off is worth it. I probably wouldn't like wear like more of my casual, like gothy, like more edgy clothes, because that's not what I want to do with it. So I don't know.
What about you, Julie? Is there anything from you?
I feel like my brain is lagging like 10 years behind everyone else here.
You're fine.
Can you repeat the question?
There. Has there ever been a time in your streaming career? Don't laugh at her. Let's go.
I was laughing at how you said that right there.
Tough. Fair. I'm really making us all look bad. I'm so sorry, guys.
No matter what you do, you won't be the one who's doing worst on this panel, I'm sure.
You're fine. You're fine. Julie, okay. Has there ever been a time where you felt like you had to act or behave in a certain way to maybe wear a lower cut top or something that you normally wouldn't do, but you felt pressured to do so, and so you're like, fuck it.
I think when we did this topic before, like a year and a half ago or whatever, I remember I was arguing the whole time because I do sex work, but while I was on stream, I would only wear like t-shirts and I would just study, and I didn't want people to sexualize me, and it was like really pissing me off. But I saw that like some streamers that I knew, when they would wear a low cut top and like just like put ridiculous titles and stuff, they would get way more viewers, way more people donating and stuff. And then so I guess that kind of turned into me feeling like, should I not? Like, I'll just try it. Like, I don't really want to, but maybe it'll work out. Spoiler, it didn't work, but.
So you felt like you needed to be more sexual or at least try to be more sexual.
To see if it like helps my viewer count and stuff.
Do you think that that's healthy for this space? That women feel like pressure to do that?
Too late. When I first started streaming, and Julie as well, I'm sure that you got the chatterbait questions, but I think it's completely too late. Now with OnlyFans and everything, every single woman, no matter how they dress, no matter how they act, gets asked if they have OnlyFans. So I don't think it matters if some girls show a little more cleavage than others.
Yeah, because even when I would wear t-shirts and stuff like that, that's what my whole argument before is like I would still get asked questions like that and said like ridiculous things. Like it's honestly not different now than if I'm wearing like a low cut top and like makeup and stuff than if I was wearing a t-shirt, no makeup.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if sexualization is like this. Like when we talk about sexualization, we view it as like this inherently bad thing. And it's like, it's just not. Like, I don't know. I like being viewed as attractive. And like I'm doing my makeup and wearing cute clothes because I think that they look good on me. So when people agree with me, I'm like, yeah, based. I do look good. I'm trying to look good. That's part of it, right? And so like sexualization by itself isn't bad. It's when people violate certain kind of like socially implied consent lines that I think is really bad.
What do you think those are in this space? Those socially implied consent lies when it comes to streaming, content creation, and even just being a chatter. If you go into a chat and people know you're a woman, what are some of those? How did you put it? Societally implied consent lines. What do you think some of those? Can you give us some examples?
I'm probably an asshole when it comes to this. I'm very much a believer in Tyler the Creator, what he said. You're getting bullied online. Oh no, boo-hoo, turn off your computer. But this isn't my living.
Quote that fully, but yes.
Yeah, this isn't my living, so I can't speak for the other people who this is their complete living. But that's how I view it because again, I don't care to be online like that. I like being online, but it's not my livelihood.
Yeah. So like it's like probably not good and it spooks girls off. But there are some social norms online that I think most people agree. Okay. Like, for example, you don't thrust your like really weird taboo kinks onto people. You don't like talk at length about their ass sweat. You don't like talk at length about like very specific body parts, unless they're pretty obviously like welcoming that, or that becomes like a meme. Like everyone immediately will think of like my armpit memes, right? Like I just kind of leaned into it because it was like mostly was a joke that Rhizome started. I don't really care, but I think it's reasonable to be cautious, right? You don't go into random people's chats and just be like, God, I really want to fucking squirt my jizz all over your armpits. That's fucking weird. Don't do that, right? And it makes people uncomfortable. But at the same time, there's like this trade-off of like, that I would agree with Kirby, where it's like, you know, you are on social media, like people just are allowed to talk to you about you and do weird stuff. You should probably block them. But in general, just so it's clear, if you're doing that to social media creators, you're weird. That's a weird thing to do. You should not do that.
Yeah, and I think one of the boundaries that people break is continuing a behavior, especially like in DMs and stuff, after somebody says that they are not there for it. Like, and then obviously like that sort of stuff can, you know, escalate to like stalking and situations that are a lot more dicey. But like that's all, you know, comes from violating the social rules of consent, like kind of more and more.
Interesting. Do you think that there is more allowance for those types of behaviors from women than it is from men? So I'll give you an example. Maybe last year, maybe the year before, there was Kidology. You guys remember Kidology? You guys know who Kidology is?
No,
Okay.
no idea.
She made a post where she put screenshots of different men in this space. Okay. I was on there. There's Chud Logic. There's a few others. I think Destiny was on there, a couple others. And she basically rated their hotness, right? And talked about how she thought they were hot. And...
What the hell, Kirby?
Yeah, what is it?
Sorry, just a general question.
Well, hold on. I missed your question. What was your question?
So, what'd you get?
What I get, I don't remember. I didn't win because I have a very small follower base. Okay, she made.
Okay.
Okay, it's okay though. I wanted.
Maybe if you had 10 million, you would have gotten first place.
Just getting on the poll was winning. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless.
It's not about size; it's what you do with it.
See,
I think it was dick pics that were leaked. In fairness, so
like. In a public setting, I feel like cause she did get some pushback for that, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I think that if a man had done it, it would have been far worse. So I guess my question here is, do you guys feel like women just get away with more online?
With sexualizing men, yeah. And then we get away with less, like women get away with being angry less. You can't be angry as a woman very well. It's very hard. We have higher pitched voices. We're seen as like naggy and condescending. Most people will call me condescending when I'm being just like outright aggressive, right? Like I'm like, sometimes I'm condescending. Usually I'm just mean. Like I'm just straight up mean. So yes, women get away with sexualizing men more. Men get away with being mean and aggressive more. So it always comes back to like what society expects of each gender norm and how much you violate that norm. That's typically what people are going to go after you for.
You think that women get away less with like intellectual type mistakes or like factual mistakes or, you know, situations that make them look like, you know, not the smartest and on point with things at all times?
Yeah, I think in certain spaces for sure. I think in like the politics space, I see that a lot, where I think people are like pretty insane. They'll be like, oh my God, and you're like, bro, the guy on the same panel with her was a fucking dumbass too. Like they both said stupid shit. Yes. But I've also seen in other spaces that aren't political. So for example, if you go more to like history or like science spaces, I feel like women get away with a lot of shit because people don't want to be mean to women, but they're more willing to be like mean to men. So I think it really depends.
What you're debating about, though. For example, I mean, I went on the Whatever podcast. The first time I was on it, you know, I was silent. I let them, you know, hurl their insults, whatever. And then Andrew Wilson started talking about how, like, I've been a good girl. I need a treat. And I'm just sitting there, like, taking it. Like, and then... And it's
DPF.
I'm still the emotional one. I'm just like sitting there and smiling the whole time. And and then he said, "Go complain to your liberal friends." After I said that, I'm like, "What's going on here?" I'm not saying a word. I haven't hurled one insult, but like that's why I'm saying it just depends on who you're arguing against. Like if it's history, if it's something like history or science, whatever you were saying, if the person you are talking to has like somewhat a similar point of view as you, I think you can probably have a better conversation than very, very polarizing views where you can't even see the other way. And that's why politics is such like a hard topic or a hard debate sphere.
Right.
No, that Andrew Wilson. What a guy. What an example of something. But that's a little off topic. Let's get back to
grifting
it,
for
right?
money.
Well, is it
He's
easier?
an interesting. He's a grifter. 100%.
Is it easier for women to grift, or is it easier for men to grift? What do you think?
I have a hard time seeing that one gendered.
Really?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
In different ways, I think.
True, fair enough, right? I think that like a lot of the red pill space, right? They try to sell a product to men, right? Like here's the ideology we're offering you. Here are the ways to become better that we're offering to you, and a lot of it is a grift. Not all of it, to be clear. There's
You
some
can do that with
honest
women
grifts.
too, though. Or like,
yeah.
my skincare is so good. Buy this
True.
product.
True.
Right.
Well, that makes sense.
Conservative Barbies are really popular. Tokenized black people are really popular. You can grift any direction you want.
I'm being told, Julie, you debated Charlie Kirk.
Where's my
there?
shrine? This is my little rat shrine. Charlie Kirk gave a book and signed it to me. It's my little Charlie
And
Kirk
then
rat shrine.
I was there and I built the shrine because it
She
was
made that
Halloween.
shrine
It was
for me.
Halloween. And I thought it was the funniest decoration. It just sold a bunch of rats, like
He
walled
signed a book for me and it says Julie banned porn.
It's so good.
It's signed. He says I'm not allowed to sell it. It was okay. I don't know. I was drunk and I didn't really know what I was talking about. But I think he at one point tried to compare abortions to
The Holocaust.
yeah. So
That one.
Do you feel like you get more opportunity? Let me ask you this. If you were a man, do you think you would be a successful content creator? You would have had the same success
wants to go first?
as a man. that
for
you would have
me,
as a woman?
definitely no. I would be an incel.
Okay. Fair enough.
100%.
For me, definitely no, because I mean, I feel like I pretty much act the exact same way as I would if I was a gentleman. Like I've always kind of just
And you think
been me
that
the entire
opportunities
time.
you'd be the same if you were
I
a man?
think I feel like with debates, I actually might not stand out as much if I was like a dude in some ways, which I feel like it's not like I'm saying that I'm like some sort of token or anything in these situations, but obviously in spaces that are mostly dudes, like people are going to remember me on panels a bit more,
Interesting.
or especially if it's like Sausage Fest panels.
Oh, do two of you do debates? Is that your main content? So Kyla and you as well?
That's how I started, for sure.
I mainly do debates. I just do debates on other people's streams, and then I like post on my like 0 follower Twitter account.
Yeah, I think my start would have been a lot slower. I think when you're a woman content creator, especially in a space that has very few women, you're going to get a bump immediately because people like seeing smart, hot women, especially men, which are a lot of the viewers. I do as well, though, think, so it's a lot easier, I think, as a girl to jump in and get initial momentum. I do think it's harder when you hit a certain point to maintain, like, to get those top upper grades. Yeah, I think it's harder to like garner respect. Like the reality is that there's so few women in the space that I think I commanded a niche that just very few others commanded. But to grow past that point is going to be kind of, I think, probably the next question. I haven't really attended to my content in the last year. So I think there's a really big question that I don't even know how to answer, which is like, I guess we'll see. And that's probably nerve-wracking for any woman who's kind of making it somewhat in the space.
Kerbafine, what about you?
I'm sorry, I just derailed it a little bit with the politics question. What was the original question?
The original question is, do you think that you would have had as much success in this space as you have had? And I know you don't stream currently, but when you did, do you think that if you were a man that you would have had the same amount of success, more success, less success? What do you think?
It depends, and that's why I really do talk about luck a lot because, I started streaming 2019, so Twitch was still fairly new. I only played games. I stopped for like many years or whatever, but I think it's very luck based, and also how with men it's a lot of times skill a skill based with video games, if you're an amazing video game player and you can entertain chat, that's a really good talent. And then also looks based. So if you look really pretty, even as a man, it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman. If you're a good looking man, you can also get a big viewer base. And then also you have to be. I think no matter what, you have to be pretty entertaining. Like unless you're the most amazing player of all time. Like if you're Faker, League of Legends Faker, like if you're that amazing of a gamer, you're going to get views. So it's dependent. If I was born a man, who knows? I don't know what I would look like or how I would act. So
I understand. It's hard to kind of, I mean, because of how differently men and women are socialized, you could turn into an entirely different person. It's really hard to say. But the reason I'm asking this question is I'm trying to kind of figure out what are the distinct ways in which women specifically are benefited or penalized. Now, I think Erudite mentioned that there is an initial bump, right? It's a novel thing because there are simply less of you. And anything novel is interesting. We are attracted to something new. You see a smart woman online, and all you've seen in the debate space so far has been men, and suddenly a woman comes on, that immediately attracts attention, that immediately draws eyeballs, and if you're smart, that continues that. I want to talk about the plateau, though, that you speak of. What do you think? Where do you think that is? Like, where is the wall different for women than it is for, say, a man? Like, because I think all streamers have like plateaus they go through, right? But where is that different for women, do you think?
Me personally, I think the plateau for me was always like you have this group of people who have expectations of dating you or expectations that you'll be single for life because they have like the dream of dating you. So it's like the plateau comes from like that expectation. And once they've like realize that that's never going to happen or you're going to keep moving on with your life, they like drop off. And then you always get the new ones who fulfill that position of the ones who drop off. But then that's the plateau of it always like staying constant. And I don't switch up my content. I don't do crazy things or anything like that. So like, I understand the people who can maybe break that by doing events such and such. But again, like I said, it's not like a full-time job for me.
I got you. Julie, what do you think? Where do you think, have you hit that plateau, do you think?
Probably. I think the only way to break out of that is if you have something more to offer in your content than just like being an idiot online or just like playing games. Like if you like Erudite, for example, like you do like intellectual discussions and things like that, that like breaks that first like ceiling where like people will average like 40, 50 viewers or something. And then maybe you're super entertaining and now you'll start averaging 100. And maybe you like put out amazing content where people will engage with it. And now you're averaging like 300 or something. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
I don't have anything more to offer than just like hanging out. So
I think the plateau is probably in part connected to a lot of men don't want to feel like simps. And I think they often feel like they're a simp if they follow women in general. I think in general, female-dominated content is less valued, particularly by male viewers, which dominates the political space. I think it's harder to cultivate a sense of respect as a woman, both because I think we're not socialized well in being assertive. And so in a political space, you have to be assertive. And that's really hard to do well as a woman. There's a very, very fine line to walk as a woman. And I also think in general, men have this insatiable grind attitude that I think a lot of women don't. I think a lot of women will give up on content creation sooner than men, probably because of the way that we socialize young men. We don't really help them in school, whereas we tend to like help women. So I think there's a number of things that cause the plateauing that women often see, and probably.
Wait, sorry. What do you mean by helping women more in school than men?
So what we know from research, for example, is that when girls run into issues in schooling, so say they come across a math problem that they are struggling with, teachers are significantly more likely to just offer them the answer or walk them through the solution. Whereas with young boys, they typically tell them to go on their own and deal with it, which to some degree cultivates a grittiness within men and a pro-social attitude within women, but also less of a grittiness within women. So women are more likely to ask for help. They're also more likely to get it, but they're also going to have a harder time grinding without any help because they haven't been socialized to do so.
Well, in both scenarios, that's crazy. That's the outcome, because in the situation that you posed with men, like that means you have to like work harder for the answer in a sense, but versus the women, like even if you give them the walkthrough, at least they have the walkthrough, so they have an example of how to solve the answer. If they give them the answer like immediately, that's I just think that's bad teachers. Like if they get like I don't know, like sure, if it's simple.
I think we're doing a disservice to young women in doing this. I agree. But I mean, there's a reason why, for example, the grind it till you're 40, retire at 40, and then kill yourself at 55 is a very masculine trope. It's not a feminine trope. The idea of like grinding and hustle culture and working 90 hours a week is a lot more idealized and yuppie, which is a masculine culture, than a feminine culture. I think just in general, I'm not saying it's a male-female thing. I'm saying it's a masculine femme thing because of our culture, that grinding and working hard is viewed more as like a masculine thing, and we socialize men to attach their value to it, whereas I think women attach their value a lot more to sociable likedness and peer groups, stuff like that.
But how relate, not the first part, but how would the second part of them getting the answer or receiving help with the answer, how would that relate to what you just described with them in the workforce?
So if you are always expecting that when you run into an obstacle and block, that if you go to others, they'll just pull you over that obstacle, then when you get into, say, a workforce or a situation where you're hitting an obstacle, but nobody is going to pull you over, such as in content creation, being a small-time streamer, it's if you've been socialized.
I'm so sorry. I'm getting the work call real quick. You can finish explaining. And he didn't. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Finish explaining. I'll listen.
You disrespect a woman's host like this? No, I'm kidding.
It's really fucked up.
Gosh.
Well, while she's on her call, a lot of this is because of the audience, right? And I've thought a lot about this. Like we try to appeal to the male gaze, whatever that is, because most of the audience is male. How would we get more women as viewers, not as content creators, but what do you think is driving away women viewers from this space?
I think they're less interested in politics is a really big one. Like just a lot of women are significantly less interested.
I mean, if you look at somebody like Hassan has like a giant amount of women in the community compared to something like DGG. And I've been trying to figure out kind of why that is. Like if it's just because of, I don't know, he has muscles or like.
It's women have, I mean, they probably have some sort of a less interest in politics, but I think women might also be like less like tolerant. Like I feel like a lot of women tend to be left wing, and if you you show even sort of right wing, like women will even cut you out of their dating pool completely. So I think it's like they don't want to be involved in political spaces where they're going to get pushback for their like ideas and things like that. They just don't want to have the conversation.
Yeah, in general, there's a weird. It seems like when women are in politics, they tend to be kind of like radical. Yeah, I feel like there's very few moderate.
I think it's because women feel like everything's an attack against them.
Maybe. I'm not totally sure. I haven't actually thought about why that is the case, that women seem to sucked into like communism. It's a much more feminine space.
Maybe it's like their motherly share everything.
Yeah. Hassan is really hot, probably in large part because leftism, particularly like champagne socialist leftism, the drapery that they would put on themselves aesthetically was being very pro-woman. I think for the Me Too movement, femininity and empowering women and feminism really got lumped into kind of progressive aesthetic. And so that progressive aesthetic group has just kind of been captured by more radical communists and kind of pulled in that direction. So I think that's a large part of it, is that it's a more pro-woman space in general, whereas a space like DGG, I think, does struggle a lot more with genuine misogyny.
Why do you think that is?
The internet. Just the culture of the internet. If you look at the history of the internet, right, with Gamergate, there's a massive schism, and there was a lot of frustration, especially for the men, over Gamergate. I think some of the things that were brought up on Gamergate were valid about working conditions for women, for example, in like game development, and there was a lot of really valid criticisms, like women sleeping to get gaming developments, and then the way that it was handled at like a social cultural level where anyone who was opposed to it was just viewed as like an incel rage bait, like piece of shit, I think was really bad. And so anyone who's willing to kind of sympathize, not just with that far extreme kind of progressive lens, I think in general gets labeled as anti-woman and pro-men. And so men fall into that category and they feel resentful of women for a number of reasons, probably because they're young men as well. That's probably actually a huge one, young male syndrome. I haven't really thought about that, but young male syndrome is...
Young male syndrome. Okay. Can you elaborate on what that is?
Yeah.
Young male syndrome. What is that? I've not heard the term before. So please.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon that like psychologists and sociologists talk about, which is essentially most people who do violence and crime are young men. A lot of societies handled kind of the fractious wildness of young men. So when I'm saying young men, I mean like 18 to 25. A lot of them got handled through like war and mines. They would just die a lot. So you didn't have to deal with them. There's a lot of competition for women. And so in general, I'm not sure if we know entirely why, but there is this association with being a young male, being significantly more aggressive, more antisocial in general, less pro-social, which creates kind of this in-group, out-group, anti-them orientation, but also makes people not like them because they're kind of being antisocial. So it reinforces the divide.
Right. We also talk about that a lot in the criminology field, which is like, my area of education. Because really, when you look at like, data surrounding this, like the, spike in like crime, as well as like stuff like gang involvement, as well as stuff like, engagement in things like inceldom within, which the last one is for a multitude of factors outside of like, the antisocial bit. But for those things, I mean, when we're talking about the age group between like 14 and 25, 13 and 25, like that's like the peak of all of this stuff, which also tends to be, encompassing a decent amount of like
this
some
is
of these communities.
Partially my fault because I did ask the question, but like fair enough with men, right? But I do want to talk and focus on the women's part of things and the women's side of things and these things. But I understand that there's some interconnectivity there, right? Does that make sense?
I think that's with every gender of just humans. Like, again, it's so funny when people try to separate everyone. It's like, I think we have interconnectivity with anyone.
Yeah, but I do think that like we do kind of have to separate.
Well, if you have sexism, you have someone being sexist. If you have racism, you have someone being racist. It's like,
sure, but like in behaviors, and I'll just be real with you guys. I do treat women differently than I treat men. I try not to, but it happens, right?
Why?
There are things that I will say to men that I won't say to women.
Why or how?
Why? Because if I make a joke to a guy friend, like, haha, you want to come over and we can cuddle a little bit, everyone knows it's a joke. If I did that to a woman, that would not be seen as a joke.
I think it depends on your friendship level with that person as well.
100%.
It does, but I'm talking about people who are watching that, right? Who are watching that interaction. It's not going to be taken the same way. So even if you and I were friends and we could joke that way, my audience would not, right? Like would not understand and sometimes maliciously misunderstand the dynamics going on there. And so, yes.
Right, they'd act like you're being serious.
Yes. And so you absolutely have to train.
True. So you have to know environment. Yeah, that's sure. That's.
I mean, I feel like we can't
point.
say that there's a social stigma and a social expectation of how we raise girls, but that there isn't a way that there isn't a difference in how we engage with men and women. I think that it's robustly the case that we engage with men and women differently. Women engage with women and men differently, right? This is something I had to talk with my mom a lot about. For example, Kirby, you and I think, have very masculine stylized social strategies. We tend to be very direct. We tend to be very blunt. We're probably pretty edgy, and we probably make a lot of like inappropriate jokes that are funny, right? I could be typing you wrong, but that's my guess. Am I correct? Guilty as charged. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Got her in one.
My mom is very sweet and quiet and polite and girly and would never talk about a problem directly. She'll kind of skirt around the edges. And this is a very feminine style of socialization. And there's an art in learning to code switch between these two things. It's a little bit age because older women are more like this than younger women because the social expectations of women are changing. But there's a certain type of code switching that I do, for example, when I talk to women, especially when I pick up that the woman communicates in a very femme way. I try to be a little bit like softer, lots more jokes, lots more like, yes, girl, and like more passive and indirect when we're talking about things. And I do more of the tit for tat that I would never do with guys, because most guys don't ever socialize in a feminine way, because the masculine way of socialization is viewed as like the good way, which is not true. But I think that this is obvious. And so the way that we engage with one another is different, and it's not always bad. I think it's only bad when it becomes like an inherent limiting factor for individuals of that group, or a group divide. It makes the other group resentful of the other group, or typifying them in a negative way.
I think it's funny you point this out, because I do think that females cut a lot of females slack, right, about how they act or how they behave. And they're like, yes, girl, like you said, like the whole girl behavior or whatever. I decided recently, because I'm like sick of this, where it's like if I don't like you, I don't care your gender. I don't know why we have to pretend that we're going to be nice based off gender. Like I've been talking about this a lot. I think it's stupid that we're like putting up I understand both point of views, because yeah, females have been like suppressed in lots of ways and like many years, but there's also a different point of view where it's like, if I think you're a bad person, I'm not gonna be like trying to be like, yes, girl, like show off queen, like do all this. I'm gonna be like, what are you talking about? Why are you treating people like this? Like, why are you treating men like that? Even if they're giving examples of why they're doing it because of how they were dealt with in the past by men, I'm gonna be like, well, everyone's different. Everyone's an individual. We don't have to treat all men, all women, all anything a certain way. Like, this is all stupid. So
you understand why it happens, yes?
I understand why it happens, but I think
understand why
we keep having a changing society, and to the point of like, yes, we have gender roles, but I think again, even gender roles are changing. So we don't need to continually do this. If we continually do this, we continually have gender roles in place.
Are you a gender abolitionist then?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, like for example, we always.
I don't know your extent of that.
He means like, do you believe that gender should be eradicated? Do you think that like all gender norms are bad? Gender should be eradicated. There shouldn't be no genderization.
No, not at all. If you want the same,
okay, so you're not a gender
if you want the same like pregnancy leave as your wife or whatever, I'm gonna be like, what are you talking about? Like, that's crazy. But so I do recognize gender as or sex. I guess I recognize more than gender.
Yeah, I mean, generally when people say gender abolitionist, it's generally like you believe that a lot of socialization and a lot of how men act and a lot of how women act are in a society where people weren't socialized as differently would be a little bit closer to being personality traits or just the way that people are than like as clean of a divide. So it's not as much of like an intrinsic thing as like, that's connected with, your biological situation.
Okay.
Yeah, so sure. I guess in the sense of gender, it's just hard. When I say gender, I also recognize what we talked about with like certain aspects of pregnancy. If you try to claim to be a certain way, for example, and you want the same believe as a pregnant woman or whatever, I don't believe in that. But
I guess the reason I started down this line of questioning is like, do women even want to be treated the same as men in this space? Right. I don't know if that's
my frustration. So as the fourth wave feminist, I don't like the idea that we treat the masculine social strategy as the respectable, good social strategy. I think it's what's expected in politics and debate. It might even be fundamentally kind of one of the better ways to debate, but I'm tired of people treating it like in all ways, it's just better to always be masculine and direct. And I'm saying this as somebody who like, I'm really masculine and direct. Like I socially engage in a more masculine way. But man, there is some like untapped and unappreciated value and respect-worthy value to people, for example, who consider the other person's feelings before they say anything. And they do a lot of heavy lifting emotionally for figuring out the best way to like talk or give a criticism to somebody that they'll receive the best, but will also lead to like good outcomes. There is something incredibly beautiful about that I think is like underappreciated. And I think when we talk a lot about like these gender norms, a lot of what starts happening, and this is why I don't like a lot of kind of like third wave lib feminism, is there's like this, women should just be men. And it's like, women can be men if they would like to, both literally and at like a social level, right? But women can also be women, and that's good and respectable. Like the idea that like feminism just insists that women need to sit at the men's table is abandoning 50% of the value of what the other gender brings. But there's a lot of really good things about femininity and the way that women in general tend to socialize, so like feminine social cues, that I think is less appreciated. I bet you a lot of debates would be more productive, for example, if there was more feminine strategies brought in, if there was a lot more understanding, there was a lot more clarity seeking. I bet you more debates would be good faith. But if you're not being assertive and aggressive at times, you might get steamrolled in debate. So you kind of like, you need both of these social strategies, but we just act like everything that's good is like masculine and everything that's silly and sweet and nice is girly, when it's like being nice and being silly are good and respectable. Breaking up the tension in a fight by being like a little bit silly is incredible. It's a very valuable skill for social cohesion. And I'm tired of people acting like it's not. Okay.
So it's funny you bring up that point, because I had a class where we were talking about something along the similar lines, and this guy in my class brought up where it's like, he said he stopped saying gender or whatever, and I brought up the point, it's like, I'm not embarrassed or ashamed that I'm like, I identify as female, and I would like you to see me as female, but I also want to be treated the same way as like my male counterpart, like to the point, like, I understand where he was coming from, where he was like, I don't see gender, but at the same time, I want him to see gender in the aspect that he can treat me equally as my gender. That's
so
how I
want to know one of the reasons why a lot of men, me included, I don't treat women the same as I treat men. I'm just being honest with you here. And I'll tell you why. Is because if I treated you, if we were debating and I treated you like I treated a man, you would react much worse to it than if I had treated a man.
No,
you
don't know me. Like,
I'm generalizing. Okay, I understand that there are exceptions, right? But in general, if I talk to a woman the same way I did a man, even in just a debate style setting, if I went as hard at them, like, they would respond to it far worse. That's just my experience in this space. Like, there are certain things I know I have to bite my goddamn tongue if a woman is the person I'm debating against.
Sure. The question though, when we analyze that is that because she's weak, or is that because we're being too toxic, right? And that's a really valuable question. Is she the canary cueing, maybe we don't need to go this hard at people, maybe this is unhealthy? Or
you can even bring up the point of past experiences too. That's another one. Where it's like, oh, you could be treating her exactly equal, but she was treated not as equal in past experiences of like debate, for example.
Well, I think as well, like, women are in general, like I said, they're disadvantaged. Women are not used to a more prototypical masculine style of like fighting and aggression. We tend to be a little bit more indirect when we have problems. And so getting like directly yelled at, but particularly in a panel full of men and male viewers, is really, really intimidating for a woman. So there's some really legitimate issues that are going to make a woman more sensitive, which is why I think in the political space, if you want more women in here, probably pulling your punches with women is a good thing. And it is unfair. And yes, you're not treating them equal, and that might be okay, because maybe the trade-off is worth it. Maybe it's not.
I think it is. And I've had more success, I think, getting women into the space if I do pull my punches. And I think there is a value to having a woman's perspective in a lot of issues, especially issues that directly involve women. So yes, I make no apologies for it. But I do think that too often we try to pretend that we aren't doing it because it feels icky to say out loud. Like, no, I don't treat women the same as I do men.
I don't know Katya's point of view, but you should yell at me and
okay,
Julie.
I'll yell and interrupt just the same exact way I do men. I like maybe you are one of the
I think this is actually going to be really good.
if we start all yelling, I think it'll be pretty good.
Let's derail this. Let's do like the men panel did.
No, no.
I didn't watch the men panels.
I mean,
It was bad. It
part,
was not good.
part of why we have to be dishonest about this social dance that's happening is because we view it as an inherently bad thing. We view it as weak and gross and like pathetic that a woman needs the punches pulled, when it's like, maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I'm not really sure where I fall on this, because I am fully aware that most people pull their punches with me, even though I'm a pretty aggressive debater. I'm aware of that, right? I've always been. And I also know that if I tell them don't do that, they're like, great. There's no way I can trust you that you're at, right? Because there's a lot of people that say I'm totally chill with it, and then you don't pull punches and they fucking freak the fuck out at you. Yes.
They lie.
Right? And it's still happens with men, less often though, right? There are still some men that like get really upsetty spaghetti when you're mean to them on a panel, but it's less often by and large. And so
men get treated worse when they do that than women, though. I will say that, right? Like men are, if you act like a woman on a panel, right? It's
what is act like a woman? Explain yourself.
In the context of what we're talking about, like if you are seen as someone who is easily offended, who can dish it, who loves to dish it out but can't take it, you're just seen as lesser. People won't have you on again. You're seen as gross, right? It's really looked down upon.
You know who
Whereas
nobody
women,
likes? Weak men. No one likes weak men. Not even other men. Yeah. Whereas weak women can be infantilized. They can be kind of cutified.
On the conversation from earlier, like, I mean, I might just be really, really autistic, but like, I say this as somebody who is really autistic, but I haven't like personally noticed like a lot of people pulling their punches with me before. Like either they do and it flies over my head, or they don't as much. And if they don't as much, I kind of would like to know why that is, considering it seems to be so universal. Like, so Wick, as the resident dude who
I haven't debated.
Are you strong?
No,
are you very strong spoken?
Disagreed on panels before. Yeah, usually when, I'm not in the hospital and trying to keep my voice down.
Because I was, if you're like very strong spoken in your opinion, and then like even in the point where you like somewhat not interrupt but interject in conversation, stuff like that, to add your point of view that's very disagreeable, I think maybe they wouldn't pull their punches. But I, again, don't know your content, so I don't know any of this. So I'm just speaking out of.
Yeah, I'm used to, for a while I was going on Prime's panels to where there were quite a few situations in which it would be like me versus like 5 or 6 right-wingers.
Okay.
It's hard to know, obviously. I can't speak for your experience. I think the issue is that
I don't know.
I think generally we all pull our punches with women and children in all ways, not just in debate. It's going to be hard to notice because I think it happens in almost all ways. I forgot that I had alerts. It's been so long since I streamed. I'm sorry. That literally just blanked my brain.
No, but you're correct. We can see this play out in all sorts of statistics. Like men fill prisons, and women's conviction rates are much lower than men. Men's are, in a way, are seen as more serious actors and treated more seriously. This is, just reality, unfortunately.
Are we talking about women though, not comparison?
Yeah, get men out of here.
We have to make a few. Okay. But when we talk about how we treat women in this space, compared to what would be the question, right? How do you treat women compared to what? And the comparison obviously is with men. So for example, if I found out that another man was pulling their punches when they were talking to me and debating me, I would be offended. I would find that offensive.
Why?
Right?
He would probably just think you're a little soft.
Seriously. Yeah,
he would probably think you're a little soft. That doesn't mean he doesn't take you seriously. That means it means he takes you seriously. He's like, he's scared to offend you because you're taking. If he's not pulling punches, it almost means that he doubts that you're taking it seriously. Because if he's doing everything like directly, he can tell you afterwards, like, hey, this was all an act for my channel, my show.
I hate to interrupt this, but I do have to make a little money. So I'm going to read some of these super chats, and then we'll get back into this discussion, but there's a good back and forth, right? But try to do them at the top of the hour, and I'll do one again. I'll read them again, like 45 minutes from now or so. So keep keep giving me money. I appreciate your money. And remember, if you enjoy the stream, like it, subscribe.
I'm going to start working on it.
Should I pee during this or should I listen?
You should listen because there's some questions for you. Well,
for me?
Specifically. Not you specifically, but the panel.
Me
But
specifically?
if you need to pee, this isn't like...
Okay, I'll wait.
If you need...
I'll wait.
Okay, $5 from the soy pill. This panel is a total sausage fest. I'm out. Thank you for the $5.
I'm going to start working on being
$10 from Psychonaut. I've been told that there is a code of conduct for women that women uphold between themselves. Is this true? And if so, what are some of
I'm going to start working on
what are
being
the
less
girl
white.
codes? What is he talking
I don't know. I'm going to pee because I don't know at all.
You don't fuck your friends' boyfriends or
that's true.
guy partners in general, like situationships. You just don't touch them at all, and you're a bitch if you do. You make minimal comments about how each other look unless it's positive.
I'm going to start working
But
on
you
being
don't
less white.
sexualize each other unless it's like very jokey or you're bi and you're, looking for some love.
Julie,
I'm going
what
to
are
start
some of
working
the
on being
girl
less
codes?
white.
That's pretty much.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay.
The way you socialize, by and large, you don't be direct with one another. You like soften. So if you have a critique or an issue with one
You
another,
always have to start an introduction with a compliment.
yeah, you just you soften them into it, right? Like, so if you're gonna be like, hey, I think you're being like really irrational about this thing, which is something I've done with friends or my friends have done with me. They typically will text me or we'll talk and it's not even they'll compliment me. They'll be like, I love you, but they'll basically be like, hey, I understand why X, Y, and Z is potentially happening, but I think it's resulting in Z or whatever it is.
Yeah,
100%. They'll soft walk you into it, which to be
I think
honest,
if you tell them like it is, it they will start turning. They're like, "Are you saying that? Are you calling me that?"
yeah. And to be honest, men should do this more with each other. And when I do this with men, it goes over way better. The woman's strat for criticizing your friends and loved one is a significantly better, smarter strat.
Write that down.
Working on being less white.
Okay.
Yeah.
right. I love you.
There are
but
definitely some strats there that everybody should use. One big one. I'm sorry I had my camera off because people were coming in here, but
You're fine.
the one where if somebody is has the potential to be offended about something or want to react in a certain way to ask for clarification, because I've noticed a lot more chicks who do that than gentlemen who do that. And sometimes jumping right into action is not the best idea.
I just want to interrupt. Someone in my chat asked, "Are there any girl codes that are morally wrong? Is there anything girls do with each other that for example, maybe you and your girlfriend's vow you'll never tell the guy that she's with that she's seeing other dudes or something?"
I don't know if that's gendered. I think dudes cover for each other's immoral behavior.
Yeah,
so
that's just an example. But is there any
yas
specifically
queening.
woman thing that's morally wrong?
I think yas queening is maybe ruining women. I think it's one of the most direct ways we're ruining each other.
Explain what that is for us older people.
Sure. Yas queening is basically when your friend is telling you about something, or she's telling you, especially it's usually gonna be about boys or a breakup if she's into not just boys, and she'll be talking about the situation and her friends will yas queen her to agreeing that everything is the other person's fault. This is one example of a yas queening, and none of it's her fault. And
maybe she keyed his car and they're like, "Yes, queen, break his windows too."
Or they'll yas queen each other into wearing really nasty, ugly outfits, for example, because they're just do you, girl, who cares? So the yas queening is typically where you'll just aggressively encourage and empower one another, to oftentimes the detriment of your friends, because you never want to be the person saying no. You never want to be the person being the negative person.
That feels like you're not close enough with your friend. I feel like if you're yas queening bad decisions, I feel like that means your friendship's not good enough.
I will say,
if you yas queen me into wearing something ugly, we have a problem.
This is
I'll yas queen you maybe into an ugly outfit only because I don't know your fashion sense.
Okay.
I won't yas queen you in decisions. I will always tell you this is I can see it from their point of view. I only do that. I give you both point of views.
Yep, I think
You don't even need to yas queen me. I'll wear an ugly outfit for fun.
I just think a lot of this might not be true for you, Kirby. I do think this is true for a lot of girl groups. There's definitely a lot of girl groups, for example, I'm sure that even you've not been able to like really have access to. I also don't tend to Yas Queen. It's just like not a social norm that I'm willing to participate in. But that has also left me on the outs of a lot of like girl groups because I'm not willing to Yas Queen typically.
I've had a few friends admit that they won't tell me certain aspects because they know that I'm going to tell them the reality of it.
Yeah.
So I've had some friends who volunteered not, or they told another friend of mine that they don't want to tell me because I'm going to tell them how it is.
Yeah. So Yas Queening, I think, is like horrible. Some of the worst decisions I've ever seen any of my friends make is typically because like 2 to 3 girls Yas Queened her into it. And I'm just like, not one of your friends went, this is probably fucking stupid and you're at fault here too. I think it's really, really bad. It's like a avoidance of accountability culture.
I feel this happens with men to a degree.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can absolutely remember times when, and unfortunately I participated in this when like, yeah, bro, go ahead. Go ask her out. And we know what's going to happen, right?
That's not the same.
Right.
There's a very
what's not about
Yas Queening, you are going to engage and encourage her to deny the reality of her existence, right? And so if my girl wants to shoot her shot, or if my bro wants to shoot his shot with a girl, and I know it's not going to work, fuck it. It's good for him. Shoot your shot anyways. Getting rejected is good for you. It's very different than, you know what? Your boyfriend was a narcissistic abuser and you did nothing wrong and he's horrible. Because that's usually not true about most relationships. And now in her next relationship, everything that she was doing wrong to ruin that relationship, which would probably be some percentage of the relationship is wrecked by her. She just carries that into her future relationships and keeps having fucking problems and nobody's willing to tell her why. So when I'm talking about Yas Queening, it's not like, go do that thing, girl. Like that's based. That's just supporting your girls. It's encouraging them to deny reality so that they can live in like a emotional comfort and not have to take accountability.
You can bring up the big Yas Queen thing. I hate saying this term because I don't ever say this, but it's like when you're really drunk in a club and then you're in the bathroom. This is the big thing with girls.
The bathroom culture.
The bathroom hype up with other women. Yes, I can agree to that.
That's my
if I'm
favorite
drunk,
thing ever.
that's a thing girls do. So
that's the place to be. If you're having a bad time when you're drunk, go to the women's washroom.
They'll all hype you up to be yes, queen. I'm gonna say yes because I don't like the term
I sat for 1,000 ARS, which is probably like $5. I don't know, right? I don't know what ARS, but ARS means art in Latin. Thank you for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know how much it is, but generous. Sounds.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's actually $1 million.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You should probably like get on your knees and thank them. No.
You're trying to sexualize me here.
Wait
You gotta get some
Hold on.
screenshots, goon to them later. I don't know.
Don't worry about it. You don't have to tilt the camera down. Just the top of your head's showing.
Eyes up.
Oh, God, $2 from Zebrahash for computer is pleased. Here's one. $10 from Psychonaut again. One thing that comes up in the men's came up in the men's panel is a large pressure to perform a type of role for the other sex. Do you ladies feel this pressure as well? And if so, how? I think we covered this, but if you have anything else to add, go ahead.
I think it just depends what you're doing. Like if I'm on OnlyFans, yeah, obviously. But like if I'm just streaming being an idiot, I'm just gonna like hang out and be myself.
Okay.
There's a lot of men, even like my favorite is like liberal sexism. There's a lot of men that love to say that they love confident women and they definitely don't. And there's a certain performativity that's going to be required to get along with people who perform to be feminist and all for girls and definitely are not. So there's a lot of performativity that I'll engage in with that.
Speaking of that, we got a question on Neil Gaiman next when it comes to false feminists and things like that.
Who that is.
We'll get into it. Yeah.
You're gonna have to describe that person.
Hold on. Do you guys not know?
The English, he's a writer, right? I don't know anything about
Neil
him.
Gaiman's a writer. He was a famous feminist writer. Well, he claimed to be a feminist. And yeah, you know who it is.
No, I'm reading right now. Perils of BDSM. Is it possible to consent to sexual torture?
Yes, it was
Neil,
really bad.
Bad boy.
And it fed in because he's made posts in the past during the Me Too movement, like, believe all women. This is why women get harassed.
Never trust a male feminist.
Hard into that, right?
Sure.
And then it gets exposed as just being. So let me read the super chat.
Okay. I'm excited.
$10 from Bovine Beauty. Does the silence from the literary community on Neil Gaiman's sexual assault allegations reflect an unspoken code to protect celebrities for financial gain, disregarding victims?
Yeah. What was the
I
question?
don't
Wasn't
know
that just
how
a
much
statement?
they're.
This feels like
I don't know how
this
much
feels
he's
like an
getting
opinion
protected
cloaked
and
in.
by whom.
Yeah, this feels like an opinion cloaked in a question. Is there financial incentive for lots of industries to protect rich people? Yes, obviously. That's like the entire Me Too movement, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yes.
So yes,
Right.
I also do think that there is a tendency to protect our ideological allies, and not just rich people, not just famous people, but like
No,
Yeah.
really like a YouTuber. Big one was like Cody Ko. A lot of people loved how wholesome he seemed. And then the thing with what's the woman's name?
I don't remember.
I don't
I'm not
remember.
Tasha, I think, or something, right? Tasha.
I'm not
Julie would know.
pretty sure.
Whatever. So he sexually, or no, he didn't sexually. He had sex with a minor when he was 23. He had sex with this Cody Ko. Julie, what's the woman's name?
Hannah Mojo, she was 17.
She was 17. He was like 23.
She's the same birthday as me, same year, same day.
So he had sex with her, and everyone canceled him. Blah blah blah. But I think
He was like 23 or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, and to like, I just watched H3's podcast like today, and to his point, like if you're a fan of him and you're gonna stick to his ideology, it doesn't matter what they do, they're gonna kind of stick to it and like put all these excuses in their brains.
Okay, fair enough. And that's it for the super chats. Thank you for the super chats. I'll read them more as we go to the ends of the show. But I appreciate you guys for asking these things. We were having a back and forth, Kirby, on how women want to be treated or say they want to be treated, how they actually do want to be treated, and kind of like the gap between that. What advice would you all give to a woman that wants to become more involved in this space, whether they be through
And
content creation?
political or content, it depends on which you need.
I want one for both now, right?
Okay.
Now I have questions for both, right? Like, so you have a girlfriend. She's like, hey, I want to be a streamer too, or I would like to start watching content creators and things like that. What is one piece of advice you'd give them, and why would you give them this advice? Go ahead.
Well, I have two different advices. If it's political content versus content.
Okay, well, give us one.
Okay. So content in general, I think the basics are get a camera. How I started was I got a very crappy camera. I had a running system and I played games, right? And then I would eventually have people recommend new stuff, new systems, new blah, blah, blah. And then that would be the eventual growth. If you're really passionate about it, you'll stick with it. Political content is a whole different sphere. I would say, well, political content, you need hard skin. You need to
let me rephrase the question, because maybe I didn't get through. Obviously, I didn't communicate this correctly. What advice would you give to women that you would not necessarily give to your man friend? How would the advice be different?
Oh, I mean, you're just gonna get a lot of DMs about like sexual favors and stuff. Ignore all of them. You're gonna get penis. They're gonna say, check your DM. I just sent you $3,000. You're gonna check the DM and it's gonna be a dick pic. Okay. Just don't give them that satisfaction of reacting at all. Just like block them immediately and just continue on. Like they love like the discomfort. They love like the freak out. So don't ever, it's like, it's their kink almost. So like,
I think half the fun for them is watching you be upset.
Exactly. So anything like that, just, especially when you're first starting out, you'll learn those lessons eventually, but like, don't ever give in to like crazy stuff like that. I would say. That's for everyone. Every content.
Fair enough. What about you, Katusha? If you were to tell one of your friends, one of your female friends was like, hey, I want to get in this space, right? What are some advice you have for me? What would you tell them that would be perhaps not the same as you would tell a male friend?
It would be basically, one piece of advice that I'd give a chick that I would also give a dude, but I would stress it more for a chick, would be to make sure to, double check like your research and the things you say and stuff like that, because it seems like, as I said earlier, like at some points, like, you know, a dude being stupid, you know, is received differently than like a chick being stupid, as well as I would tell them to kind of see, like, you know, how other people in the space interact with each other, and you know, try to understand the dynamics before getting into it, because if it's not something you're used to going into, you know, it might not be as natural for you, and then, you know, it might be a bit of a clash. But if you know like what to expect and what people generally do, then it'll be, you know, easier and more cohesive.
Fair enough. Julie, same question.
I would say don't take stuff too seriously. I know that it's like I don't know if it's a thing on Twitch, but it's a big thing on Kick, where a lot of the bigger male streamers, they'll go around on Kick and search for smaller female streamers. They'll go into their chat and just like troll the shit out of them to try to get a reaction so they can get viewers. Yeah. If that happens to you, don't freak out. Don't take things seriously. Like they just want to use you. Same with like monkey app shit. Like these big male streamers, they just want to use women for content. I wouldn't like, don't take it as a slight on you. They're just like being freaks. And for political, don't do it. Don't do it.
Stay away.
If you like me, don't do it.
Space. Why? Yeah. Why would you tell someone to stay? Why would you tell women to stay away from the politics space?
Let me rephrase. If you're retarded like me, get out.
Fair enough.
Necessarily. You don't have to. I mean, if you like the viewership, no matter what, like if you want the hate that goes along with the political space, like I think probably Kyla could tell you most of it. I'm sure she probably gets a fucking crazy hate for like
but she's not
you debate. No, but even debating another side who is, like I kept saying, like that is so stuck in their ways that they can even like listen to a different side. I'm sure you get like a plethora of hate, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like when I went on the Whatever podcast, again, I was viewed as the liberal feminist, and I got like messages saying you and your mom should die. Like,
yeah.
I will say those hate comments were funny though. Like reading through the episodes we were on was hilarious.
Okay, what's the funniest hate comment you've ever got? The one that made you laugh the most.
I didn't read the ones that I knew I would get the most hate on the episode because, like I said, Tyler the Creator. If you get online hate.
Oh, someone called me a crackhead. That was fun.
My favorite.
I got too drunk and had an anxiety attack, and people were like, "She went to the bathroom to do crack," and I was really just crying on the balcony for 20 minutes.
That's crazy.
I really like this one insult that like our friend Mole is beautiful, gorgeous. And I was streaming on her account when she was sleeping, and someone was like, "This ain't Mole, this is birthmark." I really like that.
Gotcha. Erudite, what about you?
I felt like it was a hate.
Yeah. Favorite hate. My favorite hate is when they'll be like, damn, she's really fucking hot, but also stupid. And I'm like, well, at least you think I'm hot. Like, whatever.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. That was a good... I get
wrong with that.
Yeah.
Me too.
I think that's kind of funny. It feels like they're like waving the white flag coming in,
like,
which is very.
That makes it worse though. When someone you hate is hot and you're attracted to
it's
them,
just more pathetic. Like it's more pathetic for you to be messaging maybe any hatred. Honestly,
no,
I think
it's good for us. That's what we're saying.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
funny.
It's the best hate comment.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're gonna still watch us, even though we're stupid. They're still gonna watch us.
Well, you were trying to say something else, though, Erudite.
Yeah, I think the number one advice that I would give, honestly, probably anyone, but especially women in the politics space specifically, would be number one, comments and haters are not the same thing as viewers. And if you shift your content or you react to the negative comments or the haters, you're catering your content to like less than 1% oftentimes of the people viewing you, because most people that are psychologically fucking normal and not insane are going to leave either positive comments. They might like the video, they'll watch it. Most people don't leave positive comments at all. And so I think it's really, really important. This is something I had to get through my own dumb, thick skull, which is that like, I remember one time I was watching this live stream where people were like shitting on me super hard. I was like in it. And there was 5 people just spam repeating. So it looked like there was a ton of hate for me in the chat, but it was like 5 fucking people, right? And then I like open up my own stuff. and I like stream for the first time in like 3 months, and I'm pulling like pretty good numbers despite not really streaming or being an active streamer anymore. So really ignore the commenters. The only value of haters is if there's like a theme that points out like content related issues that you might have.
What's the most constructive hate you've gotten on that note, right? The hate that you're like, oh, this is actually true.
It's gonna be
I should probably fix this.
It'll be like thematic. So for example, the condescending stuff. Me and Nick like could not figure out why that was the line for a really long time, because I was like, I'm condescending like some of the time.
Do you stream with Nick a lot?
With Nick?
Yeah.
No, not very often.
Does he stream? I don't even know. Does he stream?
No, he doesn't stream. He hates it.
Wow, this is derail.
No, this is sorry.
He's on my show.
I met her and Nick, so like, this is the
Like I can bring him in. He can show off his abs. Okay, we can do the whole tour.
Candy, okay.
Yeah, we can bring in the candy.
I just met both of them that weekend, and that was
Yeah.
Okay.
Constructive
What's going
hate
on?
is themes, right? So when I started noticing that people thought it was condescending a lot, it was really helpful to realize, oh, I almost always get the condescending comment when I'm debating usually conservative men or like really insecure men, and I'm being aggressive. That's like the main time that I get the condescension line. So if I care about it and want to dial it back, like get less hatred on that, for example, if I want to appeal more to that audience and hopefully pull some of them in, be less mean and aggressive with those specific people when you're debating them. Because people fucking love it when I'm like super condescending and mean to like leftist men. People love that shit, even other leftists. But they really don't like when it's more of like the socially conservative, I hate sex, and then you're mean to them. That's like a condescension. So I think when you get a lot of hatred, assuming that there's a theme to it that emerges, try to think about what it's actually tapping into, which can be really tricky. Honestly, I'm really lucky to have Nick because he really helps me kind of see outside of how I might feel.
More
about
than
a comment.
just the pretty face, gang. Okay?
A lot more. Mhm.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's also got a really big foot.
Okay. I'm curious what others have to say on that. Like, what has there been hate that you've gotten that you're like, oh shit, this is actually kind of true, and I probably
Well,
fix it.
this is more a personal thing where it's like if I get called fat or anything, I have lots of weight fluctuations just like any human. So it's like at first I got crazy self-conscious, and then later I'm like, okay, you think I'm fat now? Wait till I'm at my peak. So like that's like, you know, once you start accepting it, it's a lot better.
I don't know if that's constructive hate.
So what's constructive about that?
In the sense that you can better yourself. Like there would be like you would be hot if you were like 10 pounds skinnier, and you're like, you're not wrong.
There's
one.
If I could
more
shout out.
constructive.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Please.
One more constructive kind of. I wouldn't even call it more like hate as much as like. I mean, the way it was said was definitely harsh, but basically what was said, the underlying, meaning of it was that I tend to overextend myself sometimes, and I've like had a practice in the past, especially, of saying things without thinking about them first. Which I did realize that's kind of true. I mean, the actual comment included the word retard a lot more, but
It's a fun one.
I think
Go ahead, Erudite.
figuring out how to translate common themes is honestly like the most useful. Another example, if I interrupt more often in a panel, because I'm prone to interrupting, it's definitely like it's a flaw, it's a negative, except for every now and then it can be useful.
You're wrong, because I'm interrupting you right now.
It's definitely positive some of the time, but I would say for the most part, when you do it too much though, I think it takes away and it makes you annoying. When I hear like the same dude interrupting, it's annoying. And so if I start seeing like she's an annoying bitch, almost always if I dial down the interruptions, that comment goes away. So like I don't really care about them saying I'm an annoying bitch, but it does cue me up being like, I might aesthetically be performing in a way that I don't want because I think it'll pull more viewers, or like I want to present in such a way that doesn't rub people this way.
It could also be at a point where it's like it's not a good interruption. So I think there's like good and bad interruptions where it's like mid-sentence, like if you're blah right there. Yeah. But if there's like a little pause and then you get to interject, like I think that's great. So like that's how I take it at least.
I just interrupt when I shouldn't a lot of the time too, especially when I get really heated.
Again, don't worry. Me and you are the same.
STV Philly has been amazing. He'll reach out every now and then and give me criticisms in really good faith that have been really helpful. I don't remember the last one specifically, but those criticisms have been useful. And
Gotcha.
don't watch people reacting to your content if you don't like watching your own content. It's not going to be a good time. Get somebody else to watch it.
I have mixed feelings on the reactions. It could be look, I'm vain. I like when people watch my stuff, even if they don't like it. It's like, hey, you're watching my content, right? You're reacting to my content. There's a vanity there, but I understand that it can be. You see a lot of flaws when you watch it back that you're like, oh, I don't like how that worked, or I don't like how I went in there. Julie, though, what about you? I want to get you in on this discussion, right? What's the most constructive hate you've received?
I very often get people upset with the way that I yell at my chatters, and so I do every once in a while. I'll be nice and I'll do a little week where like
not
we're
yelling,
nice.
it's mean. They think you've been mean.
I am mean. Okay, hold on. I am mean. I am very awful sometimes. So I do a little weak, I'm a little nice, and then I go back to it because that's just the kind of person I am. Sometimes I'm a cunt. That's all I can say.
Her most like sad moment, she's like, I just think I'm really mean.
No, I
like,
feel bad. I feel bad, and then 2 weeks go by, and I'm like, why would I feel bad? You're fucking stupid.
no, like they like her being mean. So it's like crazy. Like she feels terrible because she's like a little bit maybe drunk, maybe next day a regret, but then like she's feeling bad, but then like
no, I do
at
when I'm
the same
sober.
time, they love that she's being
I think they instigate it because they like to watch me like scream out and lose my marbles.
Oh,
So like I do feel bad sometimes, and like I understand where they're coming from. Or like specifically if one person's like, hey, I thought you like kind of went over the line with me or whatever, and I'm like, hey, like. Also at the same time, don't take that seriously. I'm streaming and like getting my like emotions and feelings out. Like
that's what I
didn't do anything. I go to school and then I come home and I stream all day. Like this is like my venting situation. So if you can't handle me being a freak bitch, don't freak bitch with me.
Yep,
that's all.
Here's one that it's a 2-part question. I'll do one part and then I'll do the second part. So I'll do the first part first.
Wait, who should answer first? You gotta tell us now. Designate.
I should answer what part first? The question you haven't heard yet?
No. Who should answer first?
Oh, let's go Kidology first. Okay.
Oh, yes. Beautiful. I hope she does, because no one will interrupt her.
I feel like you're lying to me right now, but
no, I'm saying that I'm probably interrupting her a lot, so like she should go first.
If you are interrupting too much, I will mute you. I have.
Yeah, you should. You should. I agree.
will if I need to. Okay.
I wouldn't, but like
you're not even letting me answer ask the question. Okay, I don't know what you're doing right now. The question is excluding anyone on this panel, so you can't name anyone on this panel.
Ooh, but
can
it'd be
you
so
name
spicy.
a woman streamer?
It'd be so spicy.
Can you name
if you did?
Can you name a woman streamer that that you think is a good example for other women, and why do you think that they're a good example for other women? Do you have any role models in this space that are women streamers? Who are they? Why are they your role models? Again, you can't cheat and say anyone on this panel, and you can't say mole either. Okay, I know.
I'm not going to.
Fair enough.
I'm not going there.
Kidology first. Go ahead.
No answer.
I actually because I watch a bunch of random people at times. And I actually am like trying to think of people out of the space. Holy crap. Like I keep thinking of political figures that aren't really streamers.
No, I'm talking about a woman streamer, content creator, someone in this space, yeah.
In this space. Oh,
if
brother.
You need a minute, you can think.
Can I have a minute?
You can have a minute. Erudite wants to answer. Go ahead.
Lily Pichu. Unquestionably.
Tell us about her. I don't know her. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you don't know Lily.
The offense. The offense.
I don't know her. I don't watch other streamers. Hardly any.
That's like 7 years of jail time.
Yeah, seriously. Lily Pichu embodies in a lot of ways a lot of the like healthy femme that I'm trying to talk about when I'm saying like femininity is good and respect worthy, but she's also like really feisty. So I think she just embodies a lot of characteristics that are very different from myself. She's very sweet and cute and gentle, but she's also like edgy and can like she can fucking meme with the best of them. Yeah, she's incredible. I think Yeah, I really,
I'll have
really
to
respect
look her
Lily.
up. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
she's great.
Okay,
Legal-
so she.
legal
And she's a Trump supporter,
entertainment
which is very
originally.
brave. Yeah, it's very brave of her to be a Trump supporter, so I respect that.
Is she a Trump supporter?
Is she?
Yeah.
She came out with that?
No.
I was gonna say what?
But she did vote for him. She did vote for him, though.
Okay.
I'll go next.
Hey, well, that's almost another topic in and of itself.
I found my answer.
Okay,
From
go to your
my
answer. Go ahead.
I know that like she's more of like I guess commentary community or drama kind of, but I always did kind of like Stardust. I think Stardust is pretty cool.
What
Shout
about
out
her
to
do you
her.
like? What about her content or how she carries herself do you find to be exemplary?
I like the way. I mean, she's very bubbly, but like not like in like a. She's not like passive. Like, and I like that she goes through, like pretty deep into these drama topics because you know what? Sometimes we need some of that in our lives.
No, that's a fair answer. I like Stardust too. She's someone I've met in real life. She's a cool person.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay. Julie, go ahead.
Funny.
Well, who's your role models in this space, or what other women streamers in this space do you feel are exemplary women streamers? Like, if you were to point to this one does it well, this is one of the good ones. Who would you point to?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I don't watch streamers. I don't give a fuck. I'm either streaming or I'm fucking studying or I don't know, jerking off. I don't fucking care.
What about you, Kirby?
Thank you. I've been on Twitch and YouTube for all my life, so thank you for asking. So Lily Pichu was one of them. Pokemon was one of them. Valkyrie was one of them. Everu was one of them. And I have so many more.
What about these women do you find exemplary? What makes them...
Each one? You want me to go one by one?
Do they not have a common theme? Is there no common theme here?
I wouldn't say common theme. No, they each have their own unique aspect.
Pick your favorite.
Pick my favorite. I mean, I'm best friends with Julie. Like, what the hell? Me?
Again,
It's me. I set up
I'm
a
exemplary.
line in her background. Like, what the fuck you mean? Who's my favorite?
It's cheating to say women who are here.
He invited me on the stream. Like,
I was meant to be here.
Second is Erudite because I met her.
A
and
political
she's
streamer.
amazing. We talked about Baldur's Gate and we cosplay. Like, that's second. And then I just met Katya today. Katya? See, I don't even know how to pronounce. It's terrible.
Katya is fine. Yeah. Also, if you ever want to talk about cosplay, hit me up. I love cosplay.
Cosplay again. Yes.
You guys are
Please,
making
please.
friends. We love this.
This is going so much better than the men panel. Look, we're all frenzies.
No. Always this. That felt like an attack, real quick.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
No,
Did you see the men
he
panel?
attacked me. He said, never mind.
I attacked you. Anyway.
It's an attack.
Okay, so we've done can't name anyone in this panel. Who do you think gives women a bad name in this space? Who do you think is just
Oh, damn.
this one
That's
who's you're like,
crazy.
wow, I wish you just wouldn't stream, right? I wish you just you.
I feel like I have someone, but I can't think of it.
I'm gonna do the cringe feminist thing. I think one of the worst things that happens is in this space is that a woman necessarily carries the mantle of womanity every time they exist, right? So it's like I can list women that I hate, obviously, but the issue is like I understand that these individuals do give women a bad name, and I also just like I'm going to be so cringe and reject the framework because I think it's really bad. I think it's like the one thing that I don't want to do to other women is just be like, you're responsible for all of humanity.
But don't you think there is some? I mean, I get
know, it's like
cringe.
even
What
with
men
and women,
is there,
I think
like-
you could be like the worst person in the world.
Well, no, men. They're
Yeah.
men. Like Andrew Tate's a good one. I think.
Yeah, but he
a good
doesn't give
example.
men a bad
I don't
name.
give a bad man. Okay, calm down.
You could make an argument saying like someone like, for example, like Morgue Pie like fucked up the community by like doing all the sexual shit on stream and like
Morgue Pie seems amazing.
no, but that's what I was about to say is that while you could think that she fucked up by being so sexual on stream, also she's like fucking fantastic. She's such a sweet girl, like she's amazing, funny, and kind.
There's
like
nothing wrong with her.
Like I don't think women care that she's being sexual on stream. I think it's men mostly that get upset about that, and then women that follow.
No. It's certain women who will degrade other women for doing stuff like that
because they want the brownie points.
Doing similar stuff. That's like the irritate. So
yeah, they'll have their tits out on stream and be like, "How could Morgue Pie have her ass out, girl? Hello."
So someone brought up Caseytron, and Caseytron was honestly back in 2019 was one of the worst examples of someone who was terrible to other women. She hated other women, but would do like the top terrible things that would get you views as a woman. Like she was like number one toxic. Yes.
The top terrible things you can do as a woman to get you views, such as
like she very, very much popularized, I guess. So like now I'm going to seem like maybe not a hypocrite because I don't do this, but like I support other women doing this. At the time, League of Legends, all the women had the very small screen. Caseytron popularized making the screen ginormous for League of Legends. So the gameplay would be there, but her screen would be ginormous. And then she would be playing awfully, right? She can't play. She was like Iron League, but then she would be drunk on stream, ginormous screen, and then everyone would watch her. So like super hypocrite. I understand this because I watch other people now doing the same content, but at the time, and now she's like a huge hate. I should probably just shut my mouth.
No, this is great.
No, you're
drama.
saying that I'm a huge hypocrite right now because like I will watch other streamers. Maybe I just don't like her personality. It comes down to this.
That's fine.
As I'm speaking it out loud, it seems like I just don't like her personality.
I think women, if I could archetype it, I'm not going to give names or like specific examples, but I can archetype it. I think in the political space, so if we limit it to the political space, I think women that fall into the archetype of being like dumb, mean, and wrong all the time, I think is really bad, especially when they're kind of belligerent about it. I think in general...
I do that.
like Julie. I'm just kidding.
That's like 80% of my content, bro.
Well, I mean, in a way where they're taking themselves really seriously at the same time, right? There's a really big difference between like Julie, who's like, hello, I'm a retard, right? Versus somebody who's like, no, take me really seriously.
That was just like me.
Thank you.
No, it did. I'm not even lying. I looked at her face and I was like, that's Julie.
It's because we're twins. There's a big difference between somebody who takes themselves really seriously and is belligerent and wrong all the time, and then when given any level of pushback, falls on the trope of sexism. I think that that's really, really harmful for other women. I think women who come forward with like fake allegations, I think are like some of the worst. I really like have a deep part of my heart of despising people with fake allegations, which is hard to know. It's hard to suss out enough. No. But when you find out,
terrible to know.
When somebody, but when you find out that somebody's done a fake allegation, I hate them a little bit. And I think it's really damaging. It's typically going to be women because women are more often SA'd. There's a lot more benefit of the doubt given to women about SA after the Me Too.
Yeah, but then they're also more often to have the fake allegations because, just in like statistics, it's like more numbers, more fake allegations. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Benefit of the doubt, I guess, or whatever.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right. I was going to list a similar archetype actually to what Erudite said, but like what I was going to kind of like add to that as well is like there are, some women who behave, I guess, in a way where like they're playing up the self-created drama where they're always the butt of the joke, and they do this in a way that's also taking advantage of how they're the only woman in some of these spaces.
Can you? I'm not asking you to name names here, but I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying here. Could you maybe give a hypothetical example of this that would have?
I don't have names. Sorry, I'm just gonna interrupt really quickly. I don't have names, but I've noticed this when you go into like Discord calls and stuff, and there's already a girl in there. It's like you have no room because there's only room for one girl. You know what I mean?
Is that on the effect of men doing this or women doing this too? Like, does the other girl treat you like there can only be one, and it's like a Highlander situation where you have to battle to be the woman?
It's definitely both. It's definitely both.
I see you nodding, Erudite. Like, do you experience that? That there's you come
Girl
in a space, there's always a woman there.
Cutthroat girl games, yeah, it's like dick measuring for girls. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's like always common, but when you come across a girl that's like that, yeah, it's fucking annoying.
Wait, but I interrupt to let her go. Wait,
well, no, I'm not bringing up an actual example. Have you seen? Have you seen the aspect of it? It's like if like you're not working. If I'm wearing no makeup and you're wearing makeup, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks so good on you, but it doesn't look good on me. Oh, it's like it's fake. It's fake, like compliments. Have you ever seen that before?
I mean, what I'm noticing, like what I've noticed, not naming names, of course, I think that a lot of like, there's some crossover in what Julie said and then what I said, as far as like, let me give you an example of a person. What I'm talking about is, let's say like an individual joins like a Discord call, where they're like the only chick in there. There's one other chick in there, and then, they're just immediately, having a problem with people, immediately like being like extremely emotional to the point where it's, obviously like it's a bit, and they're immediately just like shouting at everybody in a way where they're like, this is completely serious. No, you have to take me serious, which is back what, Erudite said as well. I think that especially in those kind of like, those types of spaces, it can seem to give an example that is not the most positive representation.
When I was preparing this panel, right, I was asking different women I knew for like, what questions would you like to see asked and things like that. Like, what would you want me to ask the women who are going to be on here today? And one of the things that I was talking to someone about is one of the types of women they feel are harmful to the space. I'm curious what you guys think. Is the type of person a woman who doesn't know anything about the subject at hand, right? Doesn't know what's going on, has no expertise. They'll jump into a call like this one, or maybe a bigger streamer, right? Usually a bigger streamer, right? Like a Destiny or a Vosh or whatever, or Loaderbox or something.
Wait,
They'll
are these like political streamers? You said Destiny, and like automatically I would assume political. So like you said a random person joining this call. Is it political?
A woman. It could be a political space. It could be.
So should I say a random space, right?
Sure, a random space. They don't have expertise or any information to share on the subject at hand, but they'll jump into a debate on Israel-Palestine, for example, and they'd be like,
"Oh, so is Destiny in
Israel and Palestine just get along?" type of deal, right? Like. And have you guys noticed women doing this, right? To just to be there? And do you find it harmful? I'm asking for that.
No, I'm really not understanding
more than that. He's just saying like you go into a Discord call and you just like you there's people talking about a specific topic and you just go in there, and rather than like maybe even talking about the topic, you're just like going in there to hang out, like derailing and like whatever.
I don't view this as a
to me. I haven't seen any of that, so I kept.
I've seen it.
We literally did that in Destiny server for like 3 weeks straight every weekend.
Yeah, no, but like if it was about a Palestine or whatever, Palestine, Israel.
Kirby, it was
we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it. Yeah.
No, we didn't talk about it. That's the point. Is they would talk about Israel, Palestine. We'd come in drunk as fuck and be like, hey.
And then we leave. That's the point.
I think
he's asking the reaction.
Let's give it. We don't need to name names.
I think what you're describing, I think is not actually. So I think the issue is that there's a selection bias that happens in a lot of these like political discords, where a lot of time the only women that are willing to come in tend to be the most disagreeable, maybe least sound wise women. Most normal women, by the way, aren't on Discord. They have friends and they're out touching grass. That's the reality. That's most women, right? So you have a bit of a selection bias of typically the type of individual that's coming in, that you have less so with men. But also because of that, because there's also less women, when they are like this, they stand out more, they're a bigger deal. But probably like total number, there's probably a lot more belligerent men that I've encountered in a debate panel than belligerent women. Though to be clear, if I'm dealing with women on a debate panel, more often than not, they're going to be like more belligerent. But I really think that there's a big, heavy selection bias that's going on because the type of people that are willing to come on panels a lot of time and fight and be really intense about it is a very unique archetype of individual.
Right.
Hey, Patty, you wanted to say something?
My problem, and I don't think like women being like that is a problem. Yeah, my problem is when it's like, it's like a derail, or it's like a situation where it's like, yes, this person's very argumentative, you have them more likely to go on there, but it seems like they just don't have regard of how the space works. And a lot of the time it seems like these people are given more leeway. That like a dude would be like straight out the call, goodbye.
Yeah, because everyone wants more girls. Because girls are fucking awesome, right? So they're given a lot more leeway because you want them to stick around, which also probably enables some of the behavior, which leads to more of that selection bias, right? So like, I agree that the punch pulling happens, but it's because people want girls, because girls are fucking awesome and they make social groups way more dynamic and interesting, typically.
There's actually studies on diversity in any workplace that gender, race, anything. It's if you have a more diverse workspace, you have better inventions in general. So, and this is a confirmed study over many, 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 many years. You guys can all look this up.
A little bit of a lightning round because we do have to go soon. We're coming up at the top of the hour, but there's real quick, and I'll start with these, okay? So I'm going to name my favorite thing about women in this space, my least favorite thing about women in this space. My favorite thing about women in this space is I think that you guys bring unique perspectives on certain issues such as abortion and things like that men just don't have the requisite knowledge, if you will, in this type of thing that I think is very valuable. It's also interesting to see how different political policies might affect women that men might just not think about. That's my most favorite part. My least favorite part, and this has happened several times, is women are, and it's not unique to women, but women are far more likely to do this. They will jump on my stream and they will say, ban that person, ban that person, ban that person. That person's talking bad about me, ban them. I think I've only had one man do that to me, but women do it a lot. And I hate that. So that's me. Kirby, favorite, least favorite. Go ahead.
About what?
Women and on the space.
Is it this political space or streaming space?
Pick your poison. Go ahead. Okay, I have another least favorite thing. Decisiveness, but go ahead, please.
Are you serious?
What's your least favorite?
Is that your real take? That decisiveness? Like,
Kirby, go!
Yeah, my favorite thing about women is that we bring diversity to any field, anywhere. And my least favorite thing is that men don't think so, even though it's proven time and time and time again that we do advanced technology, for example.
Okay.
Callum.
Julie, what do you got?
I'm just gonna be sexist, so go to the next person, please.
Erudite.
Why do I like women in this space?
No, what is your favorite thing about women in this space? What is your least favorite thing about women in this space?
Girls are pretty and nice, and I like feminine energy.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, girls are pretty and nice, and I like feminine energy. Yeah.
No negatives.
Oh, negatives.
Yeah. What's your worst? What's your most, and what's your least?
The selection bias of women that typically come into the space are oftentimes like pretty unwell, and I don't like all the like problems that come with it.
Okay. Kadusha.
My favorite thing about women in this space is they often bring fresh perspectives, especially on things that, I feel like are blind spots for a lot of the dudes and a lot of the viewers. And it would actually behoove them to hear it. My least favorite thing is, though, when some of these individuals go into spaces without any regard for kind of you know, the behavior that people usually display there, and then just like it's like, okay, so you know, there's all these, you know, mostly dudes who are like not exactly cohesive, but like within a standard deviation of like, you know, how people usually act. And then, you know, one chick rolls up and she's up here, you know, and completely sticking out in a way that is negative. If somebody sticks out like, wow, they do so much research, wow, they're so skilled at debate, wow, they're, you know, this, that, and the other, they have engaging content. That's different than they like to, you know, scream in ways where they're wrong, and they like to talk about their relationships when we're supposed to be talking about Israel Palestine.
Fair enough. Well, gang, it's been a show.
But belligerent
Thank
men
everyone.
are somehow worse, just so it's clear.
True.
Much worse.
Men are worse. You
Yeah,
heard it here
true.
first from Erudite. Okay. On that note, thank you.
Worse, but
all of
less
you.
tolerated.
Welcome back.
No.
Hi.
She's
second.
back. Kirby, tell him. Tell him what you said to me, Kirby.
I'm not gonna argue anything.
Kirby, tell him. Okay. I was excited.
Well,
I was fired up.
But we are ending the stream, right?
Yeah, like he said, I think he's ending. So I'm not gonna argue.
We can argue another time if you'd like. I
Sure.
extend that offer to you the same as I would anyone else.
Sure.
We can have you and have a little debate. But for now, tell people where they can find you. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I have links to all their descriptions, like all their socials and stuff in my YouTube description. So you can go to the YouTube description. You can find them. You can click on their link. And please do. They took time out of their day to be on my show, to be on my panel. Give them a reward for it. Okay? Help them out. We'll start with Kirby. Tell people who you are, where you can find you, and we'll end with Katia.
Well, I really stream, but my name's Kirbyphine. Kirbephiine. It's like Josephine. That's my name. But I don't really stream. Maybe I'll start streaming again next month. That's it. I play games.
Beautiful.
Sometimes talk about politics.
Thanks for being here, and it was fun having you. Julie, go ahead.
I'm Julie. I go by Sidekick Cat Online. We should lock men in cages. That's about it.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Some men would be down with that. I'm not that type of man, but you know what? Different.
Give them my number.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you, Julie. You're great. Erudite.
Yeah. Am I great?
You are great.
My name is notsoErudite. You can find me everywhere under that moniker, except for Instagram, which is not_erudite, because somebody stole my name, and it's very annoying. Anyways, you can also
find them. I'll find them.
Please do. You can also find me on Bridges podcast. That's kind of the main form of content that I've been participating in and putting out. And let's see, I have a stream with Amaranth. We're going to ride her horses on the 18th. So make sure you tune in for that. We'll be riding.
I'm probably gonna watch that.
Yeah, watch it for the horses and the plot, right? Yeah. Watch two hot ladies trotting on a horse with their boobies bouncing, probably.
Send me the link privately. I need the link privately.
And then
Julie are probably gonna
watch party.
And then
serious content.
one last thing, I'm starting a series where I'm going to be interviewing women from like kind of unique niches and archetypes. So I'm looking right now for like a pretty fundy pastor's wife. I'm going to be interviewing
enough.
Might be. I've got like a female lawyer, and then I've just got a couple.
National defense. Does that work?
You gotta let her.
Can we mute her?
Is
there a mute button?
I might have to. Erudite, please.
So anyways, I'll be talking to a bunch of different women for different archetypes, kind of having like pretty tough conversations, pushing them a lot on certain things like toxic femininity and stuff. So yeah, look forward to that. My poor editor will have lots of work and fun processing
Thank you
all
for
that.
being here.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking time of your busy schedule to talk to us.
Thanks for inviting me.
I enjoyed what you had to say. Katiusha. You know what?
Why did you say it like that?
I don't know how to say her name still, and it's
Yeah,
my fault.
okay.
Right? But
It's okay. Katya is just fine because my social media, where my X and my Blue Sky is at Premier Katya. I'm at this point considering maybe, trying to stream sometime soon because after all, I will have the time considering since I had a seizure, my license was getting suspended for 6 months. So I can't drive until July.
Oh my
so
God.
I'll get my license back for my birthday, but other than that, tonight I will be appearing on another show, which is very funny because I'm in the hospital. But I will be on Admiral Gibbs's show talking about nuclear energy at 9:30 Eastern.
I know Admiral Gibbs. He's friends with Teeny. Julie.
Great. Good to know. Thank you.
Teeny.
Oh, we'll be talking about nuclear energy tonight.
You can check all of these
That's
people
awesome.
out
Good for you.
in my YouTube description. Please do so. Thank you again. We got more content coming for you guys next week. But for now, bye everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We're doing like that after panel thing that you always do.
Yes.
I just
After
ended
panel.
I just ended the stream. Oh no!
I
I had to go.
No, I'm not done hanging out.
I don't know.
I was just asking because I have probably like 10 to 20 minutes, but I gotta get going. So.
Yeah.
Great. Let's use every second of that.
Okay.
I just ended the stream, but now it's
end the stream.
No, this is now we get
I'm
into
still
the real
live.
time.
I'm still live.
After
Heads up.
panel.
I'm still live. I'm still
Oh,
live.
she's still
I'm
live.
also still live. I'm also still live. We just took
I
content away
hang
from
out,
Wick.
right? No,
We
it's
made
fine.
Wick, so
You
we
yourself, bitch.
Wow,
Mute
you
yourself.
ended and you didn't even raid one of us?
Taking
That's
money
crazy.
right out of his pocket.
That's fucked up.
Forgot.
Ooh,
Okay, so now it's deserved.
misogyny.
You reap what you sow.
I forgot.
You sow what you reap.
So, my Twitch chat doesn't like me.
Oh
Don't
no.
like for bullies like you.
Chat likes you. They don't like us as
They don't like women.
No,
like
they don't
me.
like me specifically. They're tagging me, say Twitch has no place for bullies like you, Wick TV.
Yeah, but like they actually hate us. Like
I
I
hate you.
Okay,
I viewed
I'm
it
going to
the
say bye to
whole
my chat,
time,
guys,
you
just
freak.
because I haven't seen you in a while. So, thanks for having me on, Wick. I appreciate it. Thanks for
You're
chatting.
leaving?
Yeah, I'm going to head out.
Yeah.
I miss you.
Do you have 2 seconds for me to tell you a super quick story?
Yes.
Wait, and a
Okay.
second quick story.
Wait, okay, so you remember
You go
how we
first.
all met in
You go
Vegas or
first.
whatever, and
Yeah.
then we were messaging after to like play games or whatever?
Yeah.
So the whole time you were asking me like, oh, does JoJo like this game? Is JoJo into that game? I didn't know who the fuck JoJo was because I only know her as Kirby. So I thought when you were saying JoJo was Kirby, I thought you were saying your friend. So you're asking me about JoJo's opinions. I'm like, oh, she might like that. Like maybe ask JoJo. Like I was so confused. That's why it didn't work out because I thought you were talking about another human, not Kirby.
If you and Nick are ever down, like I'm sorry if I seem very like annoying. Oh, I don't know if she's talking to him.
No,
or
sorry, he was coming in. What do you, 1 second.
Not. Oh, but like if I'm really annoying or anything, like that's fine. But like I'd love to play D&D with you guys or like some stupid game. Like you guys are amazing.
Wait, are you guys going to any like cosplay convention soon, like MegaCon?
So she's visiting in February.
Visiting DC in February.
But like we
DC.
can maybe like split the trip to go visit you guys.
You guys
maybe.
should come to MegaCon. I've got like
You guys are in Florida, right?
yeah, but you guys, we can just like we can probably host you here. We've got some like I won't say
Yeah.
any names because
When is
they
it?
aren't public yet, but we've got some pretty big names. It's like early Feb. But like my brother's coming. I've got a
Julie.
videographer, and then there's like 2 to 3 maybes of like decently large cosplay girls that are going to be probably
If we add
coming
each
as
other
well.
after this, we gotta
And figure
talk.
out the dates? Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
100%.
should come.
Promise.
100%.
Yeah.
I know I'm very argumentative, but I hope like
MegaCon in
okay.
Orlando is absolutely freaking crazy. I was there last year. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
There.
Kirby tried to put me in a wig and I had an autistic meltdown.